Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call the November 17th meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Alderperson Lysick.
Here.
May.
Here.
Probst.
Here.
Reinke.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Barzak.
Here.
Chaplesky.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
10 present, none excused.
We have a quorum. Our pledge will be led this evening by Alderman Lysick. I ask that after the pledge we have a moment of silence for the victims of the terrorist attacks in Paris.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to item D on our agendas. We have two items for public hearing this evening. I will ask the clerk to read number one.
A hearing on the improvement of South 89th Street from West National Avenue to West Lincoln Avenue, West Rogers Street from South 92nd Street to east of South 89th Street, and portions of intersecting streets by concrete reconstruction with miscellaneous walk, new driveway approaches, storm sewer relay, sanitary sewer relay, water main relay, building services, and utility adjustments.
Mr. Daniels?
Thank you, Mayor Devine. Okay, this is the public hearing for 89th Street and Rogers Street. Here are the procedures for tonight's hearing. First, I'll discuss the project scope and the cost. I will discuss the assessment rates and methods of payment. Then we'll have comments and questions from the Common Council, and then from citizens affected. Then the public hearing will be closed, and the project will be referred to the Public Works Committee for discussion in a little while tonight. And then it will come back here to the full council later tonight for a final decision. Here are the project limits for 89th Street from National all the way to Lincoln. And then here are the project limits for Rogers from 92nd Street to the dead end east of 89th Street. Here's some pictures from 89th Street. This pavement, the concrete that's underneath this asphalt was put in 1929, so it's 86 years old. And even though you don't see it, it's still under there holding up the asphalt. The asphalt resurface was put in 1972, so that is also 43 years old. The pavement has far too many cracks to even try sealing it anymore. Routine maintenance has become very difficult and expensive. And then Rogers Street is what we call a macadam pavement. This was put in 1930. So what you see here is 85 years old. It's essentially a seal coat road that was just made with gravel and tar. It does have curb, but so it's 85 years old. And it's definitely showing it with potholes. The pavement is cracked into what we call alligator cracking, which is about the size of your fist. That's really the last stages of the pavement before it just returns to being gravel again. And we also have some problems in the sewer underneath. These are pictures from the actual sewer. Here's a picture from 89th Street. I mean, the roots here are almost entirely blocking the sewer because there are holes and cracks. Here's a picture from Rogers Street storm sewer. It's got cracks on all four sides. There's a big hole in the bottom. And then this is another picture of the sewer in Rogers Street. When you have cracks in all four quadrants, there's not much left holding it up. So we need to replace these. What we'll be doing is putting in new storm sewer. Large segments of these streets have never had storm sewer in front. There is a little bit of storm sewer from 1928 and 1929 that will be replaced. All new sanitary sewer. The existing sewers out there are from 1926 to 1942. All new water main where it was not already replaced in 1985. So we'll be replacing the water mains from 1925 to 1941. And then new street lighting poles and cable. Those were all installed in about 1968. The project will also include the removal and replacement of all the deteriorated curb and gutter, pavement, sidewalk, carriage walks, and driveways. On-street parking would be provided on neighboring streets or across streets. On-street parking permits would not be needed during construction, and the police would patrol the neighborhood, make sure everybody's cars are okay. I wanted to point out that the dead-end roads on 89th, 90th, 91st Street, we would maintain access across to Rogers because that's the only way for those people to get in. So we would pour half the street at a time. Once that gets hard, we would switch and pour the other half. But at all times, obviously the people on the north end of 89th, 90th, and 91st would be able to get to their homes night or day. The project will also include several sustainability benefits. The gravel used would be 100% recycled crushed concrete from old pavements instead of mining for new gravel from quarries. Recycled fly ash, which is this substance from coal plants, would be used in the concrete to reduce the mining for new cement by 30%. New asphalt will be made from 20 to 35% old recycled asphalt pavements to reduce mining and drilling for new materials. And new streetlights, new LED streetlights, will be put in to reduce electricity use by 66%. The street would be narrowed by a foot to give the trees some more room. We've got a lot of mature trees out there, and we certainly want to save the trees. We would also put an arc on the sidewalk side of the trees to give them even more room. The trees do intercept the rainwater, and they help the runoff to soak into the soil at a slower rate. This takes pressure off the storm sewers and allows for the renewal of the groundwater. And the trees also provide a host of other benefits, such as improved air quality, reduced air temperatures in summer, and increased property values. So we're going to do everything we can to save the trees that are out there right now. This is what the finished product will look like: a new concrete street, new concrete curb, new sidewalk, new driveways. This is what we're anticipating it will look like. Here's the cost of the project. The pavement on both projects combined would be $769,000. The new street lighting would be $55,000. Sanitary sewer would be $367,000. New storm sewer, $512,000. New water main, $379,000. So the total cost of both of these projects together would be $2,083,000. Here's how special assessments are calculated. Assuming that you have a typical 40-foot wide lot, the assessment rate is $55.32 per foot. So you just multiply this by this, you come up with $2,212. Unless you also have a driveway, then that gets added in at $6.90 per square foot. So some of you probably have higher assessments because of the driveway being added in. The bills for this would not be mailed out until March of 2017, not 16, but actually 2017. The payment options available at that time would include a lump sum, a 5-year installment plan, or a 10-year installment plan. So if you were to choose the 10-year installment plan, assuming 4% interest, your special assessment would range from the first year in 2017 of $310 for the whole year, and the 10th year then would be, in the year 2026, it would be down to $230 for the whole year. The reason we special assess, for over 100 years, the city residents have historically paid the full cost of a new street in front of their property in order to enjoy the unique benefit this improvement gives their individual property. Now on this project, the city will only collect $219,000 in special assessments, which is 28% of the paving cost. The assessment rate is $55.32 per foot for all properties anywhere in the city, no matter how wide your street is or how high the traffic volumes are or how high the actual bid prices are. Everyone is treated equally. Everyone pays $55.32 per foot. Here's some other facts about special assessments. Special assessments are the only way to ensure that tax-exempt schools, churches, charities, hospitals, county parks, utilities, and railroads pay their fair share too. No one is exempt from special assessments, even though there are 430 properties in the city that do not pay any property taxes. So many of these tax-exempt schools, churches, hospitals, and county parks are very large properties and only contribute to the city's costs through these special assessments. Businesses, corporations, and manufacturers pay a higher assessment rate to ensure they contribute their fair share, and their assessment rate is actually $69 to $82 per foot. Interestingly enough, the Sunrise Apartments on the end of Rogers Street is a tax-exempt property, and they will be paying $3,300 in special assessments, even though they do not pay any property taxes. Here's a map of every property in the city in the past 10 years that has paid a special assessment. So you can see here that everyone is paying their fair share. Most have already paid for their street or their alley in front of their property in the past 10 years. It's a good 90% of the people have had to pay a special assessment just in the past 10 years. There are several properties on Rogers that are actually on the long side of their property, so I just want to explain that. There's actually 4 other properties on 89th Street that previously paid for the long side of their property on Grant Street in 2011. And then there are these 17 properties on Rogers Street that are paying for the long side of their property on this project. That's not actually unusual. The majority of properties, 10,000 parcels out of the 19,000 parcels in the whole city, do pay for more than one side of their property, so that's 55%. There are 3,400 parcels out of the 19,000 that do pay for more than one street, so that's 17% of the people. And then there's another 7,400 parcels out of the 19,000 that pay for their street and their alley, so it's another 38%. So what we do for a long side, we do give a discount. The lots on Rogers are 127 feet deep. Assessment rate is the same, 55.32. So it does come up to 7,000, but then we give you 60% off. So we take 4,200 off, and you end up with a bill of 2,810. As far as the interest rate, the city does borrow the funds for this project. The city pays interest to municipal bondholders over the next 10 years when we borrow that money. So the city is merely passing along these interest charges to any residents that choose the 5 or 10-year payment plan. The city does not make a profit off the interest charged. And with that, if there are any comments or questions from the Common Council, they will now be heard.
Thank you. Mr. Daniels, are there any questions or comments from the Common Council? Okay, seeing none, are there any comments or questions from the audience? If you have questions or comments, we ask that you come up to the podium with the microphone, and please give us your name and address for our official record, either before or after your comments.
I've got a question. We live
Ma'am,
on the
can we have
dead
your-
end of Rogers Street, and we have a handicap sticker. I have a hard time getting up and down my steps, and if we park on 89th Street, first of all, the gentleman that lives across from us has a handicap sticker, and we have one. I mean, we have a hard time. My husband had open heart surgery several years ago. We have a hard time getting in and out. Now, where does this leave us?
Well, I think I talked to you earlier this year, but we would propose putting handicap spots on 89th Street, so
And then another thing that's...
2 of them at least, if you've got 2 people.
And then there's a fellow that, the kitty corner across from us, he's like a parking lot, and if we don't get, I mean, if there's other people with handicap and steal our second one, I mean, he's like a parking lot. I swear he owns an auto dealership, and that he has a half a dozen cars in there. I mean, is this allowed? And then the people next door have 3, 4 cars. I mean, in our block alone, there's maybe about 15, 18 automobiles out there looking for places to park.
Well, you'll get a letter from us that advises you where you can park. We're going to calculate how many cars are there and how many spots, and we'll try and find spots for everyone.
Now, and another thing, when is this project supposed to start, and when is it supposed to end?
We're looking at starting about May 1st, and they would do the sewer work. During the sewer work, you should be able to get into your driveway most of the time, not all the time. But, you know, during the time that they're directly in front of your house will maybe be a week. Then they'll move on to the next block or something, and you should be able to get into your driveway at that point. So that would go on for probably about 2 months while they work their way all the way down to 92nd Street and then do 89th Street as well. Then they would come back and take the pavement out. And that'll take another month to do that part. So it'll be done in August, but I'm not saying, for half that time, you'll probably be able to get into your driveway, or more than half the time. So it is a big inconvenience, I realize, and we can work with, handicap needs. Give me a call and we can work out how we can get you a couple of spots. I think I talked to you before about putting them on the corner, and if we had 2 spots, then you and your neighbor could both park there. Or there may be other options, but we can talk more about that.
So you said it's approximately a 4 to 6 month project?
About 4 months, but the road won't be closed that whole time, I'm saying. It will be going on, and you might not even see them. They might be over by 92nd Street. They won't be bothering you, just, so that's all happening in that 4 months.
So you're saying the majority of the time we will be able to get in and out of our drives?
Yes.
And are we going to be given, like, parking permits to park on the street?
No, the police are advised. They know what's going on. We don't normally issue permits unless there's some sort of, like around State Fair, if there's a problem. But the police know not to write tickets. So they know to keep an eye on the area. No permits are going to be needed. So you can park anywhere within, and we'll send you a letter that shows where you can park, and no permits would be needed.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, could we have your name and address, please? Could we have your name and address, please?
Do you want it on the slip?
Or you can tell us and then sign in, both, if you don't mind. Does anybody else have comments or questions on this item? Thank you.
Hi, my name's Melissa. We live at 2000 South 91st Street. I completely agree with the project being done because that road is terrible. But one of my big concerns, and hoping that you guys can add on, is putting a stop sign right there on 91st and Rogers. Cars go flying like 50 miles an hour right past our house. Being a corner house, we have 4 kids, and there's kids all over the neighborhood. I don't even let my kids out of my fenced yard because I'm scared they'll get hit by a car. And my other question is, for the parking, I understand no parking permits, but how do you know how many cars we have to park on the street? Is that going to make a difference?
We make an estimate, I guess, roughly.
Roughly,
Right.
okay. Okay.
Thank you. Does anybody else have comments or questions? I see no other comments or questions, then we will close the public hearing. And I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 2.
A hearing on the special use permit to establish the BD Cooking Company, a proposed catering company to be located at 7109 West National Avenue.
Mr. Stiebel?
Tonight, this evening, we have an opportunity to take a look at a rather unique use at cooking school, effectively, catering and private chef services. At this location, the old Cunningham's restaurant, the BD Cooking will take about 800 square feet out of the total 1,800 square feet. They'll have about 5 classes a day, 5 days a week, about 10 people maximum per class. They'll be operating from hours from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. The applicant has an extensive history in cooking, BA from Notre Dame, MBA from DePaul, and the Institute of Culinary Education in New York, where she won the Top Chef Award. So we're quite delighted to have such a notable person coming to our facility in West Dallas. Uh, 10 parking spaces are required for the site, the 16 are provided, so it has ample parking. And it'll be under the food production limited, which is different from a restaurant in that it just provides for the cooking of food at this particular location, like Dave's Pickle or Freeze's Candy or Aggie's, that sort of thing. The Plan Commission has reviewed this proposal, has recommended approval, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Comments or questions from the Common Council? Seeing none, are there any comments or questions from the members of the audience? Okay, seeing none, we will close our second public hearing. And we will move on to item E, which is citizen participation. This is the opportunity for residents to address the council on matters of interest to them. We ask that you keep your comments to approximately 5 minutes. And we try to limit this portion of the agenda to 30 minutes. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening? You can sign in after.
After?
Sure.
First, I have to start out. My name is Laura Temke. I'm actually an employee here at the city. I live at 549 North 65th Street, and I have a disclaimer. I'm pregnant, and I have a really weird side effect. I'm out of breath literally all the time, so if I have to stop and it's not, I apologize in advance. So like I said, my name is Laura Temke, and my address is 549 North 65th Street. I've been an employee with the city of West Dallas for over 5 years, a public employee for over 11, and I'm married to my wonderful husband, Jason, who couldn't be here tonight. A man who is 4th generation, born and raised in this city. I love what I do, who I work with, and I'm an expert in my field. I've considered myself an exceptional employee. I come to work early, I leave late, not every night. I work nights, weekends, and everything in between. You may ask yourself why I'm standing here giving you a bio of myself and how this is even pertinent, but I want you to know where I come from and what I stand for. Tonight I'm here to talk about the 2016 budget process and proposed changes. One of the first parts to the 2016 budget process started in July. Department heads had an initial meeting to discuss the budget. I was not at it, but I did read the document that was provided at that training, noting phrases such as solicit ideas from everyone, and we're in this together. In no part does the document state in any form that health care coverage will change for employees. This would have been a perfect opportunity to let employees know the possible changes that were to come. In addition, and much later, we were made aware of the budget included big changes to employee health insurance. I'm borrowing a cohort's phrase. It was kind of like the Titanic meeting an iceberg. Employees and retirees were blindsided, to say the least. So here we are, November 17th, 2015, and I have in my hand a 120-page piecemealed booklet of information that we were finally given to figure it out. How can families make informed medical and financial decisions for their families with this? Part of the city's money savings plan was to, and I quote, eliminate people from the plan. By waiting till the last minute, an employee who could have taken their spouse's insurance missed the enrollment dates for 2016. To reiterate, the timing couldn't have been worse. Change is change. Some people love it, a lot of people hate it. I welcome it, but as a scientist, I like to do my research. I explore all options to make the best decision for my family. Lastly, I'm not naive to the fact, let me just reiterate that, I'm not naive to the fact that the city, along with many others, are struggling with budgetary constraints. I'm also not against or opposed for paying more for health insurance. It is inevitable, I know this. But there is a right and a wrong way to make changes, and this year it was just not done right. I'm not asking the council to ignore the challenges, but I'm asking you to postpone health insurance changes until next year. so that employees can make the best decision for them and their loved ones. And for more than 20% of the employees that will lose their providers, afford them the time to consult with their current physician, find a new physician, and discuss with their families what's best moving forward. 3 months is just simply not enough. In closing, I sincerely hope that you, council members, and my cohorts will utilize 4 amendments to postpone the health insurance changes until next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else, excuse me, does anybody else wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will close citizen participation. We will move on to item F on the agenda. Our standing committees will be meeting during recess. Those room numbers are listed on page 1. Moving on to item G, the mayor's report. I have a couple things this evening. On the 11th of November, we had a really nice Veterans Day ceremony at the Veterans Memorial Park. I want to thank publicly the Tanner Paul Post for their assistance, as well as the West Allis Fire Department Honor Guard for presenting the colors, and also thank all those that attended. It was a beautiful day. We also dedicated a new flagpole at the site at the request of a veteran who had lived in this community and served in Vietnam. And we got a lot of private donations to put that up, and the city covered some of the cost as well. So thank you to all those who made that happen. Also on Saturday, I know a couple of us were at the Senior Center Volunteer Party. We had well over 100 people, and I think it was over 25 hours each that they had donated to get to be eligible to attend the dinner, but they really had given hundreds of hours of volunteering in so many ways of staffing that senior center, and we are very appreciative of their efforts, as well as the leadership of Jane and Denise over at the health department. Also on Saturday, I was out with the fire department installing smoke detectors with Alderman Rote and also Commissioner Herron from the Police and Fire Commission. There were 169 smoke detectors put in. There were several batteries changed in both smoke detectors as well as carbon dioxide detectors. I also want to thank Sally Nuslock and the Health Department, along with the Professional Firefighters of Wisconsin, for supplying and funding many of the smoke detectors. And I also want to thank Batteries Plus here in our community for the donation of the batteries. Lastly, coming up December 5th is the Christmas festivities here in West Allis. The action begins at 1:30 in our downtown business district. There are going to be hay rides, crafts, music, games, a lot of holiday activities. Then at 4 o'clock, we're going to be all singing together and lighting the city Christmas tree outside in the plaza. And then the parade begins at 4:45 on Greenfield Avenue. It starts at 81st Street and wraps up on 65th Street. It goes right down Greenfield. That concludes the mayor's report this evening. I will now move on to item H. Do we have any reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Reinke?
I just wanted to make mention that once again, the Celebrations Committee is sponsoring the Veterans Giving Tree. If you've noticed when you came in, we have a Christmas tree with a lot of stars. On the stars is the name of the veteran and what he's wishing for this year. Some of the wishes are minimal. Some of them are a little more expensive, and maybe you can go in with another person to purchase this item. But these are the veterans on the 9th floor at the VA. Plus, we've added the greenhouse, which is a separate house. It's more with a home-like atmosphere for 10. So there's 37 on the 9th floor and 10 in the greenhouse that we're trying to accommodate with these gifts. Most of these people don't have families, so they look forward every year for these gifts on Christmas Eve. And it would be really wonderful if you would pick a star and purchase a gift for these veterans. The committee will wrap them Actually, now we started the project, and the committee will wrap them on December 18th. The project ends on December 16th. The committee meets and we organize them on the 17th, and we wrap on the 18th. So the committee also will deliver them on December 20th. That's a Sunday. So please, if you have it in your hearts, please pick a star and return the presents unwrapped to the mayor's office before December 18th. And I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Probst?
Yesterday, I had the great pleasure of attending a special Girl Scout award ceremony at Jefferson Elementary School. A young lady named Faith Angel Thomas, ironically her middle name, turned very prophetic on a day last spring when she heard a man crying outside of her window at school. She kept hearing him yell for help. She had been told a couple of times to sit down by the teacher, and if you knew Faith, her tenacious spirit kept her going back to the window because she kept hearing something that wasn't right. And she did hear a man who had fallen outside and had hurt himself. He had been out there for a few hours before anyone had heard him. And so she alerted the main office. 911 was called. Our first responder showed up. He did end up in the hospital with pneumonia. Could have been a lot worse had Faith not heard his calls for help. And yesterday, some of the powers that be within the Girl Scout organization and from New York City came to Milwaukee, presented her with a special award at Jefferson Elementary School yesterday. So it was really wonderful to be there, and it's really nice to see young people who maybe don't always follow the rules, but have a wonderful outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick?
I move approval of the minutes of the Common Council regular meeting of November 3rd, 2015.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman May. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item J on your agendas, I'll ask for a motion to place item 4 on file and refer items 5, 6, 7, and 8 to the city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
Wow, motion by Alderman May, second by Alderman Barzak. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item K, standing committee reports. Administration and Finance.
Mr. Mayor, the Administration and Finance, we held on Monday, November 9, a meeting in relations of budgeting. Mr. Mayor, I have 3 items. One item, 9 and 11. 10 will be read separate. So, Mr. Mayor, I move to approve item 9 as recommended for approval as amended. And 11, just as well, recommended and approved as amended. Mr. Mayor, I should move for approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second by Alderman Haas.
Point of order.
Alderman
Mayor.
Lysick.
I think it's inappropriate to act on item 11 until item 10 is acted upon.
Well, you want to, I mean, I thought because,
We have to pass the budget first before you can appropriate the funds. So I think if you would withdraw number 11,
Just do item 9.
yeah, we can do 9 item, sure.
Okay, on item 9, we have a motion from the chairman. Do we have a second?
I'll second that again.
Okay, a second by Alderman Haas. Any discussion on item 9?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Weigel?
I'm just wondering broad strokes what the nature of the amendment was on item number 9?
To place the insurance, or to place the, not the funding, but to make some changes on the amendment of item 9, to make the changes.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just wondering
I mean, basically,
what
that's,
the nature of it was.
Alderman Lysick?
Yeah.
the basic change was taking the retiree portion from that separate plan carrier and moving them in with the regular group.
Okay. For 1 year. Thank you. Thank you.
That's part of the reason Alderman Weigel.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak. Chapletsky. Haas.
Aye.
10 in favor, none opposed.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, we move to item 10 and 11 for approval as amended.
Second.
Alderman Probst?
You have a question, Alderman?
I would like 10 read out separately, please. And, yeah, I have something else to add when we actually get to number 10, and we start to talk about 10.
Well, we can do separate.
But I would like number 10 read out
All right,
separately.
let's do number 10.
Let's do number 10.
Okay.
Okay.
Alderman Probst?
I'm looking for a point of information. I'm looking to add a floor amendment to item number 10. When would be the appropriate time to do that? Now? Okay. I would like to amend number 10 to include restoring the 1.8% salary increase that had been in the original budget that had been removed and not placed back in.
I think it went to 1.5.
Right, but I want it restored back up to the
1.8.
1.8, which would be a 0.3 increase. And I would also like to have the $5,000 performance bonuses resubmitted or replaced as well.
Reinstated.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, do we really realize the
I'll
impact?
second the motion.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh,
Alderman
thank you.
Lysick, second. Okay. Discussion.
Thank you,
Alderman
Mr. Mayor.
Vitale.
Chairman.
Yeah, the fact stands, we could make all the amendment that we wish, but the fact is, where the additional funding in this budget for 2016 is going to come from? I mean, that's my
Mayor Devine?
question.
Alderman
Alderman
Lysick.
Lysick.
The funding for the raises amounts to $35,000 if my memory is correct. And that money was actually a reduction in your proposed budget. So the money is there without any increase in the tax rate or anything else. The budget as proposed by you would remain the same. I'm unclear of the effect of the $5,000 bonus one. Alderman Probst, if you could
Yeah.
fill us in on
I-
that.
I believe that was a $15,000 performance-based incentives that was reduced to 10, or was it 10 to 5? And then this will bring it back to,
It restores it,
but it's still,
Still the $45,000 that we're
correct.
I believe the amendment we just
Yep.
passed, or the item we just passed, number 9, was a $540,000 difference, but this, we only needed 500,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And this would still keep us enough to, it would be a wash with the carve-out of the post-65s, or the, not carving out the post-65s.
So won't be any problem at all in impact on the
Correct.
No.
full budget, right?
Unless our finance director wants to, or,
Mr.
Where's
Chairman?
Mark? I mean,
okay,
or,
city administrator's nodding, so. Alderman Probst?
When we looked at all the budget cuts, we came up with about, I believe it was $546,000 in budget cuts, and we needed 500,000. So there was an additional $46,000. We did not restore that back to the point, we did not give them back the .3. That's what I'm asking for now. For that to be put back, that's about $35,000. There's still about $11,000 left, and then we look at the performance bonus. You put that back, there's still a buffer left. It's not that, so we haven't even, by replacing in the budget what we took out last time, we can put back for our employees without it costing a single another tax dollar. So,
Thank you.
Well,
Mayor Devine,
Alderman May?
just a quick point of clarification on that sheet from the committee, and I'm in favor of this. It's 35,000 for to bring the employees back up to 1.8. It was 5,000 for the general staff performance appraisals, and I think that was the motion. And I just want to clarify the 10,000 for the management. That is not part of this motion. So yes, there is the capacity. I just want to clarify. There were some numbers flying around there. I just want to make sure we got that right. So,
Thank you, Alderman.
thank you.
Okay, on the amendment, any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Reinke.
No.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
No.
Barzak.
Aye.
Chapletsky.
No.
Haas.
Aye.
7 in favor, 3 opposed.
Motion carries. Now it is, I believe, in front of us as amended. Item 10 as amended. Is there any discussion? We get a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Barzak, second by Alderman Lysick. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Probst.
No.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
9 in favor, 1 opposed.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor.
Now item 11.
Item 11, Mr. Mayor, the Administration and Finance unanimously recommended for the passage as amended. I
I'll
move
s-
for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion with a second by Alderman May. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine, just like to
Alderman May?
add the clarification that this would include the amendments we just approved for item number 10.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
10 in favor, none opposed.
Motion carries.
That'll be all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Vitale.
Mr. Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
There's a motion, there's a second by Alderperson Reinke. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are in recess.